Salutations, folks. JT here, seeing the best hecate clone vamp and the Kill Conversation article. I'll start off with a little bit of lore here in that Murphy has revealed that we should take note of the fact that, once I open this up onto a new thing, the fact that Vamp is a whole lot different than her sisters in the Hecate family. Black hair, chubby, and they go by they, them pronouns. Something to think on, because I know Vamp is technically bad. They've been killing podcasters and that type of stuff, but the fact that we also don't really hear from her either, or Hera in this case, because there's no audio from these two sisters here. So that's something to put in the think tank. But as for this article here, howdy murder fans, Howie here. We've got something extra special for you all today. Not only are we covering possibly the craziest true crime case in all of sports history, but this is also a collab with longtime friends of the pod. You know them, you love them. Paranormal investigation team Digiboo. We're thrilled to welcome back Ethan, Francisco, Jess, and Grant as special guests on this week's podcast. Now, here at Kill the Conversation, we only cover things that happen within the realm of the living. So once you're listening to this week's podcast, be sure to check out the corresponding episode on their show for discussions about what might have happened after the murders. But for those of you who don't have time to listen to an hour and a half of murder talk, here's the recap article with all the glory details. Harriet Turnpike, better known as Home Run Harriet, was the star player of the Harriet Cleats baseball team. Harriet was a natural athlete, going through college on a baseball scholarship and then joining the Heracleats team in 1989. Only a few games after she started playing for the team, she was already a fan favorite. She essentially became the face of the team altogether to the point some fans started calling the team the Harriets. At the end of her first season, she earned the nickname Home Run Harriet after hitting 52 home runs over the course of the season. It wasn't until a few years later that anyone started to notice something might be a bit off with Harriet. At the end of the 1993 season, she did what she did best, hit a home run, winning another victory for the Heracleats. You'd think this would be cause for celebration, but instead something inside Harriet seemed to snap. She was always a very friendly lady, attending events and interviews, but after her last game, she appeared less and less in the public eye, and each time she was seen, she looked more disheveled and distressed. If I had to guess, all the pressure finally got to her and sent her into some kind of mental health spiral. Eventually, only a few weeks after the game, Harriet suddenly quit the Heracleats without warning and moved to another state, not even leaving her teammates an address or phone number to find her by. She refused all invitations to events, interviews, even games from the baseball team she had once been the face of. It was as if she wanted nothing to do with the sport at all. In late 1993, the first Heracleats player turned up dead. Her body was found having sustained blunt force trauma to the head, skull smashed open in her own living room. No windows or doors had been forced open. Investigators suspected it must have been done by someone she knew, but none of their suspects went anywhere. A tragic loss for fans of the Heracleats. A tragic loss for fans of the Heracleats. But surely this was a one-off freak incident, right? Well, we wouldn't be talking about it if that was the case. I think I can get to this one without having to... Yep, here we go. Now, let me explain something to you about how baseball works in case you're not a baseball guy. Don't worry, I'm not either. C had to explain some of this to me too, so my bad if some of this baseball info is slightly off. Don't come for me, ha ha ha. In baseball, each team has a roster of about 26 players. In an actual game, there are 9 players on the field. Over the course of 6 years, 8 women who played for the Heracletes were killed. Some women seem to have fought back against their attacker, while some were taken by surprise. Some were killed in their homes, in parks, at the gym. But ultimately, each victim was murdered in the same way: blunt force trauma to the head, a baseball bat. At the time, there was a lot of speculation about what happened and why. Was the team cursed? Was a player from a rival team taking out the competition? Even after the team pulled out of games because the girls were too scared to play, many even quitting the team altogether until the Heracletes were essentially unofficially disbanded. Despite all of that, the murders continued. At first, it seemed random girls were being killed. None of them knew if they might be next. Eventually, though, hardcore fans of the team started piecing the puzzles together. All the women that were being killed were the same players that had played in the last game of the season in 1993. The last home run Harriet ever the last game home run Harriet ever played in. On one cold October 1999, services received calls about a fire at the Buck Park baseball stadium. Heracles' home turf. When firefighters arrived on the scene, they found Home Run Harriet Turnpike standing on the field, bloody bat in hand, surrounded by the flames. She went with police without any struggle, but according to reports from the time, Harriet refused to speak to them, even as they connected her to the killings of her teammates, searched her home, found her guilty of 8 counts of first-degree murder, and ordered for her to serve 4 consecutive life sentences. She never once said a word to defend herself. In the 20 years since she was arrested, Harriet Turnpike has still never revealed why she killed her teammates. In fact, she hasn't spoken a single word at all. She is still alive, though with 4 life sentences, it's unlikely she'll ever see the outside of a solitary confinement cell ever again. The only possible reasoning we have from her as to what turned someone who was once friendly, well beloved. And that is it for now on that. We go back to inspect elements, my dear friend. Oh, come on. I think I deleted something I shouldn't have. Okay. Yeah, I'm deleting stuff I shouldn't delete. Because I think that's the case. There. Alright, well. Bring that up before I accidentally delete that, because that. Behind all this is Harriet Turnpike, and you'll get a closer look in a second. Let me go ahead. Because I think I did delete something I shouldn't have. Gotta wait to get it back. First, let's at least open up the new tab here. Harriet Turnpike found guilty for murder of Heracles. And I'll go ahead and read this for you guys. The trial of baseball star Harriet Turnpike has come to a close with the accused being found guilty of 8 counts of first-degree murder. Turnpike, known Amongst baseball fans, as Home Run Harriet was accused of murdering 8 of her former teammates who played for the baseball team Heracles. A jury of 12 people deliberated for 14 hours over the course of 2 days as to Harriet whether Turnpike should be found guilty of murder or if the defense plea of not guilty by reason of insanity was enough to convince them. Families of the victim comforted each other with relief and sorrow as the judge thanked the jury for their service. Turnpike appeared emotional after the verdict was read out loud, but continues to refuse comment. She was the light of our life, Elizabeth Isaac, mother of victim Wendy Isaac, said as she spoke about her daughter. There is a hole in our hearts now without her. No mother should have to bury their own child. Husband of victim Pamela Taylor commented, Pam loved her team more than anything. She said the day she joined the Heracles was second only to her wedding day. Those girls were close as could be. I can't understand why Harry turned on her. On all the girls. I don't understand. The crux of the case revolves around Turnpike's alleged state of mind during the 6 years leading up to the arrest. In December of 1993, Kimberly Underwood's body was found in her Houston home with blunt force trauma to the head. Investigators revealed the cause of death had been from a baseball bat. Only the next 6 years, seven others Over the next 6 years, seven others Heracles players, Pamela Taylor, Nancy King, Jenny Ramirez, Wendy Isaac, Sharon Edward, Ashia Olin, and Ann Sit Shen were murdered in similar fashion. It wasn't until early this year that Turnpike was detained by law enforcement after being found attempted to burn down the Buck Park baseball stadium. Turnpike went with police without hassle. Since her arrest, Turnpike has made no public comment on the event or reasonings for the murder. During the trial, Turnpike's defense team pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, claiming the woman was incapable of rational communicating with her attorney. The defense stated that Turnpike had been undergoing a psychotic break caused by a disorder she had not previously been diagnosed with that caused her to become incapable of recognizing the wrongfulness of her actions, proceeded that her actions had been necessarily to prevent the past from coming back. Elizabeth Isaac said that she and the families of the victims plan to hold a private vigil to say goodbye to their loved ones now that the trial has concluded. A sentencing hearing will be held at a later date. And this goes a Buck Baseball Park Baseball Stadium sued for negligent security. Let me see if I can bring this up because I think this is the one that I accidentally deleted. Yep. So let's go ahead, back out. I'll try to do this the right way. Funny enough, this page is similar to the first vamp page from the funeral band where you got a lot of stuff to dig up. But here's what I deleted by accident. Video going live now. Hell yeah. Wait, did y'all cut out my joke about the mascot suit? Yeah, sorry, man. It just felt a little inappropriate. Damn, I thought it was funny. But the joke about Jess and Ethan getting to second base wasn't inappropriate? Yes, because I made the joke about myself and my friend of over a decade, not about a woman who killed 8 people. Dude, it was just a joke. Howie said he thought Harriet should have killed people while wearing the mascot suit because it would have been more interesting. It was disrespectful. Come on, man, don't be like that. Have some self awareness, guys. The way you two treat the deceased is kind of gross sometimes. Jessica, you literally pretend to talk to dead people for a living. It's not pretend. I thought you guys believed in the paranormal. Yeah, didn't you guys just get called out for faking shit? Talked about disrespectful. I believe in the paranormal. I just don't see what the issue with making jokes about it sometimes is. What we do is entertainment. It's gotta be at least a bit entertaining. Look, man, I'm the one who edited out the bit. Be mad at me if you want, but don't be rude to Jess. Sorry. Didn't realize how touchy y'all were about it, but I guess since you're trying to rebrand, you gotta protect your new squeaky clean image. Oh, fuck off of that. Whatever, dude. Sorry I said anything. Hey guys, the team have been talking, and we think it might be time for us to part ways. We've had a lot of fun collaborating with KTC over the years, but after the last one, we can't really see it happening again. I hope you understand where we're coming from. We truly have no hard feelings towards you or your show. We're just both growing in opposite directions. Best of luck to you guys and with with all your future endeavors. And then he says F you at the very bottom there. I know the world of Pen Dog is big, but it can feel small sometimes. Alright, I am looking to delete you two now. Oh, there we go. Once I get it, I got it. And there's Harriet. Of course, I deleted the link to get to her, but that's why I did this. Which we will start off reading the next part. Or actually, let's just do it now. I don't mind going over 20 minutes for these videos. Oh, hello there. I'm sorry I don't get many visitors, and I'm not sure how we are speaking, but I guess that's okay. I don't know if I could show my face to another person after what I did all those years ago. Just me, the looming past, the future, and my small cell. A place I've secured to carry me through history unchanging, thinking about where things went so wrong. A small box for a bright mind that once rose above her peers and took classes far beyond the qualifications of most her age, sharpening itself, being sharpened into a pentagon for others to follow. I wonder how calculated that all was, if her worms had infested my body all the way to my first breath. A great woman born for great and terrible things. So I'm getting the gist that Harriet knows a little bit about Miss Hecate. A small box in a small cell to hold a bright mind which flickers and suppresses its impulse so that it doesn't snap under the stress of this concentrate block room. If you put your mind in a small box and draw into yourself, the years pass quickly until time becomes nothing but words listed on a calendar. We aren't allowed to have clocks here, or books, or music, or even a window. Artificial light is all I know as the sun anymore. Fluorescent haze being my cloud on a gray, stunky sky. It's nice to feel another presence that is not her. Oh yes, even though through all this concrete, her red light manages to creep through. Sometimes fading, sometimes just a silver, but always there, always passively judging the great woman who abandoned her destiny. May have asked me why I killed them, why I turned my natural cunning and charisma towards such a sick and sinister purpose. Do you really want to know? It's not a happy story. It begins with a light in the sky with my hopes high and ended with my thoughts in a box in a gray room down below. That cow. Wish I could say it started with the arrival of that unreadable mascot suit, but truthfully, I suspect things had been arranged long before the first person tried it on. Now, no, if my theory is to be trusted, and I realize that is a lie, I figured this all began when I was born, for reasons I will explain later on. Oh yes, the bull, the heifer. I used to be really good with animals. Grew up on a farm, the moment I but got out the moment I could, as even every child born into that business should. I used to be able to tell you the name of members of a herd by the spots on their backs, but now my unkeen mind can't even tell you what designates a heifer, cow, bull, or the like. I wasn't ashamed of it, though. My background, I mean. But oh, yes, the bull, the cow. It's funny, despite everything that's happened, the memory of designating that character with my teammates always sits on. The memory of designing that character with my teammates always sits as one of my happier moments. Some things I was, something it was the trade off that made me do what I did. Being separated from my old teammates and new women filling the benches around me. But no, I really liked them. I didn't resent them. At the time, I knew them as friends and still do despite everything. Ah, yes, but the cow. I haven't spoken to anyone in years. Nobody has even been allowed to talk to me, so my brain's a bit. I'm unlocking the small box I've kept in to try and tell you what happened. You need to know what happened, and maybe if you're inclined, you could forgive me in the place of others, put my mind at ease. Heracles, what a wonderful name. I remember being so proud when I joined the team, and when the mascot was created, though, sorry, I'm just trying to focus. The cow was never the cow never was the start, nor did she play a big part in what happened, although I definitely felt that the suit was inhabited in a strange way. Maybe once upon a time it was intended to be the vessel for something. Yet for whatever reason, even after being introduced to the public, I remained the face of the team. Maybe that's why I was the starting point, the first pitcher, the true mascot with which that awful red thing hoped to inhabit the world. My team, the Harriets people used to call them, how much of that was intended? There's so much guilt to struggle under. If people hadn't known us as the Harriets, if it hadn't bled from me out to them, would they still be alive? Would I have been able to let them live? Every night, every hour, every second, I stare at the gray sky of the prison box and wonder. She just watched. Heracles, cattle graze and only watch. That always made me laugh when the costume did that, pretending to graze on the baseball field. Though now I wonder if it was actually listening to the worms below. Home Run Harriet, fans used to call me. They still do, though. My new fans are a different and more repulsive sort. It was a home run on one of the many nights of 1995 in which I saw what put this awful thing in motion. The white ball sailing into the sky, I looked with satisfaction to what I thought to be a wonderful future. That's when then I saw it, the white light in the sky which looked upon me with terrible intent. In an instant I saw the scope of her, that red and white thing. I saw wars, chemical scars, blackened lungs, slums, industrial accidents, charred people, red fountains extracted from the people of the world. I saw a history so red with blood that its pages could barely be read. I saw the scope of every industry beauty, sports, art, music, and more. It was all. To her, what she was showing me was something special, something wonderful. But to me, it was an abomination, something evil and cruel. How would you react, I wonder? If you were shown the scope of every industry and government of the world, would you be handle it with as much grace as I did? To this day, I am not sure how I completed that game without incident. How I pretended nothing had happened and that my little moment of clarity was a stress related incident. Many articles mentioned my brief hospital stay, claiming it was an early warning sign of my latent psychopathy. It was a warning sign, not of me. To something that is so greedy and thoughtless in how it affects others. It was, if it was to see an the icon defined by the name Harriet and see the team as a whole called the Harriets by its devotees, what would it do to those teammates? Would they bleed together? A single Eunubius identity? Or would they sap the blessing of the central mythologized great woman of which history is said to rest? So much blood, so much twisting. As Hecate often likes to do, I tried to ignore what was happening. If the changes to their behavior and identities were unnoticed by the rest of the world, maybe I could have done the same. Ignored how at night they drove into the neglected parts of the cities, how at times they spoke less like people and more like caricatures, their white teeth gaining a pinkish sheen and their financial investments turning towards the military, law enforcement, data analytics, lips growing longer and eyes more pallid. Could you stand by watching the people you loved do these things? At the time and now, I thought and still think about killing them was the right thing to do. It wasn't easy. There were several times when was sure I'd be caught, but somehow I think the blessing of my unwanted benefactor kept me safe. Without Harriet, there could be no the Harriets, you know? There was nothing thrilling about the process, though. Everything so meticulous in a way that reminds me of the system I exist in now. Cold, gray, agonized rigidity. What do you think? What would you have done? What always bothers me, though, what I I must truly ask your forgiveness for, though, is that I made a misassessment. I thought it was only the eight who shared the field with me who gained her blessing. That was the mistake. Seeing the game as the big event, I shuddered to think what might still be out there. Having long drooped the disguises used to fool me, wearing much too pristine baseball uniforms. Sometimes I think I can sense them sulking around, a leftover gift from the red. I think I'd like to sleep and put my mind back in its box, closed away and safe from interacting with this world. How can history even bear itself if it's not enjoying itself? History must think something of what has been made. Has it not died from shame and horror? Perhaps it doesn't think at all. Maybe history puts its mind in a box like I put mine in a box, hiding ourselves away where nobody can look at our ugly bodies. So that's honestly really interesting to me, the fact that it seemed like the team was turning into Hecate, basically. And something else, and I hope Murphy doesn't mind, this comes from the Pendog Discord. She mentioned that Hera, the mascot, is very patient. So take that as you will. In the meantime, I'm going to end the video here, guys. This is JT signing out. See you guys next time. Peace.